Strange how the quiet moments reveal truths we often avoid. A thought crosses your mind in the stillness, a whisper that unsettles the heart. Perhaps the people you trust the most are not the anchors you believed them to be. Point. Not because they are unkind, but because every person walks their own shifting path. Their moods change, their loyalties bend, their intentions evolve. When your peace depends on their presence, your balance trembles with every step they take. This is not bitterness, it is clarity, a doorway into a deeper awareness that many never dare to enter. I am Shi Heng Yi, and in this message I will guide you into a form of inner seeing, rarely spoken of openly. You will learn why seeking unwavering friendship outside yourself leads to instability. You will explore how silence, self-observation, and ancient Shaolin discipline reveal the only companion who never abandons you. You will uncover the reason expectations create suffering, and why freedom begins the moment you release the grip you place on others. There are lessons here drawn from old monasteries, from long days of training, from moments when the mind breaks and reforms into something stronger. Lessons that few encounter because they require courage to look inward without flinching. Stay with me until the end because the final insight completes the journey. It ties together solitude, mindfulness, and the hidden mechanics of human attachment in a way that can shift your path forever. If you allow this teaching to settle, your relationships will no longer drain you or define you. They will simply reflect the stillness you cultivate within. Welcome to Heng Yi Chronicles. If you seek mastery of the self, walk with us, subscribe, and step into the discipline of awareness. There is a moment in every seeker's life when the heart grows quiet enough to hear its own weight. That weight is often attachment, though we rarely recognize it as such. It slips into our lives in gentle forms: affection for someone's presence, dependence on a certain outcome, comfort in familiar relationships. Yet the same softness that draws us in becomes the chain that limits our movement. From the Shaolin view, this subtle binding is the source of inner instability. When the mind clings, it trembles. When it expects, it suffers. And when it leans on someone else for balance, it loses the strength to stand on its own. I have watched many students grow confused by this. They believe attachment is love, or loyalty, or commitment. But attachment is something different. It is the unconscious belief that another person should complete you, soothe you, or confirm who you are. The moment your identity relies on approval, affection, apology, or attention from another, you hand over your sovereignty. Your mood becomes negotiable, your peace becomes conditional, you live in reaction instead of command. Every shift in another's behavior becomes a storm you must brace against. Shaolin training teaches a different path. When the body moves with discipline and the mind sits in silence, you begin to feel where your energy leaks. You notice how quickly you surrender your center when someone's voice rises, when their absence stretches, when their approval fades, and in this awareness, something powerful awakens. You understand that freedom is not achieved by managing others, but by reclaiming yourself. When you stop anchoring your peace to someone else's presence or loyalty, you feel a clarity you may have never known before. A quiet strength rises, not hard, not distant, but steady. From that steadiness, relationships stop becoming crutches and start becoming choices. There comes a point on the path when you realize that everything around you can shift without warning. People come and go, seasons turn, even the roles you play in life rise and fall like passing waves. In the middle of all this movement, only one presence remains with you from the moment you wake to the moment you sleep, your own body and mind. This is the silent companion that never leaves, the witness that follows you across every landscape. Ancient teachings remind us that true strength begins when you stop chasing stability in the world outside and start cultivating it within yourself. When body and mind move as one, you stand on ground that cannot be taken from you. Training begins quietly. You learn to feel the breath travel through the ribs, to notice the small tensions that gather in the shoulders, to sense the emotions that rise like shifting weather inside the chest. These details, often ignored, form the map of your inner terrain. The more closely you observe them, the clearer the landscape becomes. Every thought leaves a footprint. Every feeling sends a ripple. Over time, awareness sharpens, and the body and mind begin to move in harmony rather than opposition. Discipline becomes less about force and more about listening, and something subtle changes. When the inside grows steady, the outside loses its power to shake you. The need for constant reassurance fades. You no longer wait for someone else to tell you who you are or whether you are enough. Your validation comes from the stability you build within your own skin. Support becomes a welcome presence, not a necessity. From this foundation, life no longer feels like a storm to survive, but a path you can walk with clarity and calm. There is a simple exercise that feels almost strange the first time you try it. You step back from yourself, not physically, but inwardly, and watch your thoughts and actions as if they belonged to someone else. You become the quiet observer, following your own behavior the way you would follow a character on a screen. This shift creates space. In that space, patterns begin to reveal themselves, small reactions, hidden assumptions, the subtle ways you reach for approval or withdraw in fear. What once felt automatic now becomes visible. And when something becomes visible, it loses the power to control you from the shadows. As the days pass, this way of watching turns into a kind of inner mirror. You begin to notice how your relationships reflect deeper layers of your mind. The person you cling to may echo an old fear of abandonment. The one you chase may represent a part of you still seeking recognition. The tension you feel around certain people often mirrors unresolved doubts within yourself. With gentle awareness, these reflections become opportunities rather than burdens. Instead of blaming others or resenting their behavior, you start to see the connection between their presence and your own conditioning. Detachment does not mean coldness, it means clarity. When you observe without judgment, you can finally distinguish between your true self and the roles you have unconsciously projected into the world. Over time, this clarity shows you who is drawn to your essence and who is drawn to the image you have created out of fear or longing. It becomes easier to release relationships built on illusion and to nurture those rooted in honesty. With each step of awareness, you reclaim more of yourself, moving through life with the steadiness that comes from truly knowing who you are beneath every mask. There is a quiet strength that grows in a person who walks through life without demanding anything from others, not because they are indifferent, but because they understand the fragile nature of expectations. Every time you expect someone to act a certain way, every time you assume their loyalty, consistency, or understanding, you place your peace in their hands. When they falter, as all humans eventually do, your heart trembles. But when you release these expectations, something remarkable happens. Betrayal loses its sharpness, and disappointment no longer shatters your center. You see people as they are, not as the roles you needed them to play. This freedom is often misunderstood as loneliness, yet it has nothing to do with withdrawing from the world. It is the art of protecting your inner calm, the same way a monk shelters a candle flame from the wind. You can care deeply, connect sincerely, and walk among many, while still holding your sense of self steady and untouched. When you no longer demand from others, you meet them with greater compassion and clarity. You understand that every person carries their own burdens, their own storms, and their own weaknesses. You stop taking their inconsistency as a personal wound. Ancient teachings remind us that the most reliable foundation is built inside the mind and body. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions align, you become stable from within. You no longer sway with every change in someone else's mood or choices. External dependencies fade, and a quieter, more grounded confidence emerges. From this place, relationships become lighter, more genuine. You give freely, but you do not lose yourself. You stand rooted in your own center, moving through the world with a calm that cannot be stolen. Discipline in the old traditions was never just about strength or endurance. It was a way of shaping the inner world. The monks who rose before dawn and moved through the cold morning air were not simply training their bodies, they were training their minds to remain steady, present, and unshaken by discomfort. Every stance, every breath, every repeated movement carried a lesson. Consistency reveals who you truly are. In this rhythm of daily practice, distractions lose their brightness, and the longing for constant companionship fades into the background. You begin to understand that the deepest companionship is the one you form with your own awareness. When energy is channeled into self-mastery, it changes direction. Meditation quiets the noise that once pulled your attention outward. Mindful movement teaches you to feel each part of yourself working in harmony. Self-reflection brings hidden emotions and motivations to the surface, allowing you to meet them with honesty instead of avoidance. As these practices settle into your life, the urge to search for validation or comfort in others naturally weakens. You don't isolate yourself, you elevate yourself, you become someone who does not need the constant reassurance of friendship because your center is already full. A disciplined path shapes qualities that no one can give you. Self-respect grows when you keep promises to yourself. Clarity sharpens when your mind is no longer scattered between external opinions. Resilience strengthens each time you push through discomfort rather than escaping into distraction. Over time, this discipline becomes its own kind of companionship, a quiet force that supports you in every challenge. You walk with a steadier posture, a clearer mind, and a softer heart, not because someone stands beside you, but because you have learned to stand fully within yourself. There is a profound clarity that comes when the world falls away and you are left alone with yourself. The noise of expectation, obligation, and social pretense quiets, and suddenly every thought, every sensation, every impulse becomes visible. In these moments, you begin to notice the ways you have leaned on others for comfort, for validation, for a sense of direction. The illusions of companionship that once felt necessary are revealed for what they are: projections of your own desire for ease, safety, or approval. In solitude, these illusions cannot hide. They must be met, understood, and released. This is not loneliness, it is not emptiness. It is a fertile space where the mind becomes a mirror and the body a guide. You feel the rise and fall of energy within yourself, the subtle tensions that shape your posture, the quiet rhythms of your breath. Awareness sharpens. Patterns of neediness and codependency become apparent, and with observation comes choice. You learn that leaning on others is optional, not essential. You discover that presence can be complete without external anchors, that support can emerge from your own steadiness rather than someone else's consistency. Ancient wisdom has long held that true strength is cultivated in isolation before it is exercised in the world. The monks would retreat into quiet chambers, into the forest, into the stillness of meditation, not to escape, but to awaken. Solitude trains attention, strengthens resolve, and builds a subtle power that is unshakable. In this space, the self is refined like metal in fire. You begin to recognize the depth of your own being, the resources that have always been there but were drowned out by distraction. And as this inner terrain becomes familiar, you carry its stability into every interaction, every choice, every moment, grounded in the unwavering knowledge that the most loyal companion is the one you carry within. There is an art in moving among people without becoming entangled in their moods or actions. True engagement is not measured by how much you cling, how often you seek reassurance, or how deeply you invest your identity in another. Instead, it is an exchange of energy, a meeting of presence, a sharing of moments that is free from expectation. When relationships are approached this way, they become mirrors and teachers, not crutches. You give without losing yourself, and you receive without demanding permanence or conformity. Each interaction becomes a reflection of your own steadiness rather than a test of loyalty or affection. This perspective requires patience and self-awareness. You begin to notice the subtle pull of desire, wanting someone to behave in a certain way, to validate your choices, to mirror your emotions. By observing without reacting, you learn to release these grips. You see clearly when jealousy arises, not because of another's actions, but because of attachment within your own mind. Dependence softens, and emotional turbulence loses its intensity. Changes in others no longer ripple through your center. You become a steady presence, a harbor in the shifting currents of connection. Ancient practices teach that relationships flourish best when freedom underlies them. The monks understood that attachment is the soil of suffering, while presence and clarity are the water that nourishes genuine connection. By cultivating internal alignment first, every meeting, conversation, or exchange becomes a dialogue between equals, not a negotiation for survival. You move through the world with compassion and discernment, able to love, to listen, to give, without sacrificing your own stability. The bonds you form carry a quiet strength, because they are chosen from wholeness rather than constructed from lack. In this way, engagement becomes a reflection of mastery, a dance of presence, balance, and freedom that endures even as circumstances shift. In a world that celebrates connection and friendship, it is easy to forget that the deepest source of strength lies within. When identity and peace are built around others, power is quietly surrendered, and the mind becomes vulnerable to every change around us. The teachings of Shaolin and the guidance of inner mastery remind us that the truest companion is found within, in the body, the mind, the steady awareness that observes without clinging. By practicing discipline, embracing solitude, and cultivating mindfulness, you tend to your inner garden, creating a foundation that no external circumstance can shake. From this grounded presence, relationships transform. They are no longer anchors or burdens, but reflections, exchanges, lessons. The real friend is not a person outside, but the awakened self that walks beside you in every moment. Carry this awareness into your daily life. Begin by noticing where you seek validation, where attachment softens your center, and gently redirect your energy inward. Let your inner calm guide your actions, your choices, and your relationships. May this practice bring clarity, freedom, and quiet strength to each day. Welcome this journey, and if these insights resonate, join our community. Like and subscribe to Heng Yi Chronicles, and walk the path of inner mastery with us.